Hello everybody, it's Dr. H. Welcome to week 2 of our online learning experience. I hope that you are getting a pattern going where you are waking up at about the same time every day, that from 9 to 1 is when you're focusing on your academics. We're supposed to be giving you about 2 hours of work a day, so it's not that you're on for the whole 4 hours, but sometime when your teachers are available to help you, that's during 9 to 1. Today's assignment is multiplying and dividing using decimals. And while it's been a little while since we've done that, I think it's going to come back to you very quickly. All right, so let's just take a look at some of the problems that we'll be doing. The first set is multiplying a decimal by a whole number. Then we're going to be multiplying decimals by less than 1. Then we're multiplying decimals greater than 1, and the answers are on the bottom of the page, even though they're all mixed up. And then we're going to focus on dividing. And so you're going to decide if this answer is reasonable, and you're going to either answer true or false. I do suggest that you actually figure out the problem to decide whether it's true or false. It's good practice. All right, so let's go back up to the top, and I'm going to work out a few problems with you or for you to just remind you about the rules of multiplying and dividing with decimals. So I thought I would start with number 6 here. And one of the rules I follow is putting the longer number on the top. So not the greater number, because 4 is greater than 1 and 1800ths, but 1 and 1800ths is longer. So I put it at the top. So I'm going to put 1, and I'm trying to make my decimal really large, which makes it look a little wonky, and 1800ths times 4. And if I wanted to, I could put a decimal after the 4. 4 is 4 with the decimal or 4 without the decimal. It's still the same whole number of 4. So I know that 8 times 4, right there, 8 times 4 is 32. So I'm going to put a 3 and a 2 for 32. Next, I'm going to multiply my 1 times my 4, but I'm going to add my 3. So I'm going to get 7 because 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7. Then I'm going to multiply my 1 times 4 and I'm going to get 4. Now that is not my answer. 472 is way too large if I'm multiplying 4 times 1 and then a partial number of 4, right? It should not be more than 5. So 4 and 7200ths. So how do I determine where my decimal goes? Well, I stick to my favorite scoop method. So I'm going to scoop once and scoop twice. There's nothing to scoop here because I'm at the end of my problem. So I'm going to scoop once and scoop twice. And then where does my decimal go? It goes right here. So 1 and 1800ths times 4 is 4 and 7200ths. Got it? Let's pick a problem on the next page. So I'm going to clear this, get a new page, and I'm going to go down because we're following the same rules. No matter if we're greater than 1 or less than 1, it's the same rules. So let's pick number 6 again. I have my larger number, or not larger, but longer number is 600ths. And we're multiplying that by 2/10. So I know that 6 times 2 is 12. So I'm going to put my 1 here and my 2 here. 0 times 2 is 0 plus 1 is 1. Now that is not my answer. 600ths times 2/10 is not 12. I need to add my decimal to the answer. So I'm going to do my scooping again. Scoop 1, scoop 2, scoop 1. So I've scooped 3 all together. Scooping 1, scooping 2, scooping 3. Now, that looks weird. What do I do with that? Well, what I'm going to do is put my 0 here and then my decimal. So 6 hundredths times 2 tenths is 12 thousandths. I scooped once, twice, 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times. Let's do another one just to keep us in the groove, okay? So I'm going to give a new blank page, and I'm going to do number 10. So I'm going to say 2 hundredths times 4 tenths is 4 times 2 is 8. 0 times 4 is 0. Now, how many, oops, I forgot to put the decimal there, and that's going to make a huge difference. Don't make that mistake at home, students. Put your decimals where they belong. So now I need to determine where the decimal goes in my answer. So I'm going to do 2 scoops, Raisin Bran, 3 scoops. I'm going to start again. I did 3 scoops. Now I want to hold that with a 0 and put my decimal. All right, so 2 hundredths times 4 tenths is 8 thousandths. All you're doing is scooping, counting the scoops, and then starting at the end of your answer and putting your putting the appropriate number of scoops in. If you have a blank space, you're going to put a 0, and that's where your decimal is going to go. Those are the technical terms. Miss Wheeler and Miss Carbonneau are probably yelling at me right now. All right, so let's look at another problem. So down here I mentioned that the answers are all at the bottom, which gives you a great way to check your work. So I am pulling up a problem here, and I'm going to do problem number 8. Okay, so problem number 8. They're both the same. They're both 2 numbers each. So I'm going to put either one on top. So I'm going to put 6 and 6 tenths times 2 hundredths. Now, you might say, hey, Dr. H, if I were doing a math problem, I would want to line that up and do 2 tenths. I mean, if I were doing not a math problem, you are doing a math problem. If I was doing an addition problem, right? But you're not. So you do not need to align the decimals. So going back to where we were, 2 hundredths, there we go. Make that decimal larger for you. So I know that 6 times 2 is 12. That's here. And then 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. I know here that 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. So I could add zeros here, but I'm still going to get 132. So where does my decimal go? So going here to my color, I'm going to scoop once, scoop twice, so that's 3 scoops. And that means in my answer, I'm going to do 3 scoops, and my decimal is going to be here. So 6 and 6 tenths times 2 hundredths is 132 thousandths. Okay, so we're going to try another problem in division, and then I'm just going to let you go forth. All right, I've already scooted down to my final page, and I'm going to do this problem here, 96. So we're going to go ahead and write our problem out on the board. and we've got 96 and 1600ths. There's my decimal, divided by 8. And remember, there is a decimal in 8, it's just after. So for this particular problem, you don't need to pay attention to the decimal in your whole number. You would if the decimal were before the 8, if this were 8/10, not 8. So let's do our division. 9 divided by 8 is 1, because 8 will go into 9 one times. 1 times 8 is 8. I'm going to subtract, and I get 1. 9 minus 8 is 1. I'm going to bring down the 6, and I'm going to say, how many times does 8 go into 16? Or 16 divided by 8? And I get 2. Now, I'm not going to put my decimal up. You might be tempted to do that. Do not do that yet. Right? So now I'm going to say 2 times 8 is 16. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to get 0. And I'm actually going to go and bring my 1 down. 8 goes into 1 0 times. So I'm going to put a 0 here. Bring that down. And I'm going to bring down my 6. And 8 goes into 16 2 times. All right, so I know 2 times 8 is 16. And I subtract and I get 0, which you can't see. Now, you may be tempted, as I said before, to just move your decimal straight up. For you to do that, that means that this number here always has to be a whole number. And it means that you had to perfectly align these numbers right here with these numbers right here. Really, what you want to do is scoop again. So let's do that. Scoop 1, scoop 2. No scoops there. Scoop 1, scoop 2. So my decimal is going to be there. Okay? Let's do one more problem together, and I'll see if I can make it fit better on this screen. The only problem we have left that wouldn't be your problem is the 60 and 1800ths divided by 2. So 6 goes, let's make that just bigger. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. I subtract, I get 0. I'm going to bring down my 0. That's a 0, not a 2. 2 goes into 0. 0 times. 0 times 2. Right? We're doing that now. Is 0. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to get 0 again. I'm going to bring down my 1. 2 goes into 1, or 1 divided by 2 is still 0. I'm going to bring down 0 times 2 is 0. I'm going to subtract, and I bring down my 1, or 1 minus 0 is 1. I'm going to bring down my 8. So 2 goes into 18, or also 18 divided by 2 is 9. I can put an 18 there and put a 0. Now, where does my decimal go? Well, just to make sure, I'm going to scoop. 1, 2, no scooping there. 1, 2. So that is where my decimal goes, right between these two numbers. Again, not because it's straight up, because if this had been 0.2, I would have had to move this one over again. Another number, but I didn't, so don't do that. But that's just an example. So more power to you. Good luck. Can't wait to see your work. This is Dr. H signing out.